Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to work on 2 pair of earrings using our JJB beads sparkle season mix. Now, let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do. I think they're going to be really pretty. Here is our bead mix that we are using, the JJB beads sparkle season. Now, I've got 2 pair here designed, a silver pair and a gold pair. The gold pair I was originally going to use these little snowflakes in, and I was going to use them as connectors as opposed to a bead cap because it's a really big bead cap, as you can see. Unfortunately, my second one is damaged. See how that's got a big chunk out of it right there? So I decided that that wouldn't be very cool to use a damaged piece, so I'm not going to use that. We're going to instead use these big pretty gold, like a balloon kind of thing here. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to use some you can go back in there with the gold silver pieces, some Softflex craft wire in gold, and we're going to take and we're going to hook this little reindeer on the bottom. Then we're going to go up through this crystal and then this balloon-like guy, and then we're going to hook it to this post. Isn't this post pretty? It's a little flower. I like it a lot. There's a hook right here in the back, so we're going to hook that onto those. So that's how this pair of earrings is going to be. So let's get our wire out and get started on this, and then we'll do our second pair. Actually, let's show you what I'm going to do with the second pair. Then we'll just drop the pieces back into the dish. We've got silver Softflex for this, 20 gauge. And we're going to take these really pretty snowflakes, then the snowflake bead, the pave, and the snowflake. Then I have some really pretty posts. These are a sort of a different post than I've used before. They open up sort of like a like an ear wire, and then they close back up. Now I just realized that this is down low enough that this is catching in the loop, the little so I think this one needs bent up just a hair's breadth because see, it won't open normally. Oh, it did. I just had to use a little more force, but oop, now I bent it up too much. I'm going to have to bend it back down. There we go. So this is the post we're going to use at the top of these gold ones, or these silver ones. So we will temporarily put these back into the dish here, and we'll get to work on the gold ones. So all we need to do is cut, probably 3 or 4 inches of wire. Or if you have a if you have an eye pin, you can always use an eye pin if you prefer. Now I'm going to cut off this end because it's probably doesn't want to straighten, and a non-straightened wire is actually rough on the hands, so I'm just going to cut this end off. And it's not a lot. I mean, you're not wasting much. And then I'm going to get a couple of inches of gold wire off here. Now I'm also going to turn it around and trim the other end off because you're always leaving a slight notch. And we'll just put this aside here. And then what we're going to do, straighten this wire. I had my wire straightener out here somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Now I don't normally use a wire straightener, but I'm going to for these. So there we go. So now I'm going to take and make a 90-degree turn on one side here. Then I'm going to get my stepped bell making pliers, and we're going to make a loop, and that just went a little crooked, so we're going to have to straighten that up some. So there we go. There's our loop. Now we're going to feed our little reindeer. See, he's got a little loop right here in his antlers. Come on, little guy. This loop is a little tricky because of where it's situated at, but hopefully we can get it on here, all right? Oh, you were just on. Stay there. There we go. So now we want to take our pliers and hold that loop. Take a second pair of pliers and do a 1 or 2, well, 2 or 3 wraps. Now, when I do these, I'm going to try and make sure that my reindeer are facing 2 different directions. Appear that I have the klutzies today, and I'm dropping my tools. That's okay, because I always have extras. Now, this loop has slid up, so I'm trying to push it back down where I want it. And it's determined to be up, and I'm determined it won't be. There, I think we got it. So there is our reindeer hanging off our wire here. Then we want to put on this crystal, and then this big guy here. That's pretty. So now, because our ear wire loop goes like this, side to side, we want to have it so the loop goes side to side here as well. So we'll put this on here. See, I've got this loop going the opposite direction. Bring her over. Go in with our bell making pliers again, up and over and around. Bring her down, leave a slight loop, and then feed our little earring in. I'm going to take the back off because it's easier to feed without the back on. So then we're going to just feed this little guy through here. Boy, it just barely fits. And up and around the loop. There we go. So we need to now grab hold of where our wires come together. Push them back in place good, because they will be a little bit out of place. Take our second pair of pliers and wrap. And then we'll trim this off. Tuck this in. Now, one thing I'm going to check and make sure that there is no opening on this loop. It doesn't appear that there is. And put our earring back on. And there is earring number 1 finished. Now we're going to cut some more wire and do exactly the same thing with the other one, except when I put this all together, I want to make sure that my deer is facing the other direction so that they are, facing each other. So let's get started on that. cut some wire here, and I got this bent again on the end. So there is our gold wire, and we'll put our cap back on now. So there's that. We're all done with that, so we can set it aside. And now we're going to do our little fellow here. Bend it over. Get our bell making pliers. My flush cutters that I dropped are right under my foot. I just felt them. So then we'll go over and around. Leave this gap. It's not a big gap, but we do need to leave a gap. So I think I will open it up just a bit more. And now we need to feed our little deer on through that weird little connection there. There we go. Now we grab these wires where they come together with our pliers. Trying to be careful since that loop is in a really odd spot that the deer is hung into. And we need to wrap this. I think I have it 2, maybe 3 times. Now, because I cut this short enough that we just barely need it here, I sometimes push my wire around instead of pull it when we get to that point. And you can see I've got this crooked here at the bottom. So we want to straighten that out. So we'll take it and pull it till it's straight there. That's much better. Now we need to feed on our 2 beads, our crystal, and then our big gold feller. So there we are. And again, we want this wire, here's our little loop, we need it to go the opposite way. These are a little crooked here. As this loop. So we'll go this direction, bend her over. Get our bell making pliers out, up and around and over, bring her around, straighten it, leave a gap for our ear wire. Now, because I want my deer to face this direction, this is not quite as straight as I want it, so I'm going to straighten it a little bit here. We want our ear wire to go on this way. So let's feed it through the little loop. Now these odd-shaped posts are sometimes a little tricky to get on because they want to be biffing into everything, so we need to pay attention to that. So I've got it on there. Now we'll hold it where the wires come together. Take our other pair of pliers, wrap it up. Now I just bent the wire. I felt myself do it. So we're going to have to bend it back when we get to that point. Trim this guy off. Tuck it in. And now we'll see how bent I made it. Oh, not as bad as I thought, but it is a little bit right here. See how it's a tip to this one side? So just straighten it up. And now we'll put our earring back on this post. And there is our first pair of earrings with our Jesse James beads sparkle season. Aren't those cute little deer? So there we go. That's those. So let's put these slightly to the side and knock out the stuff out of the dish for the second one. Here is our second set. This one is much simpler than the, well, it's probably almost the same actually. I was going to say much simpler, but since I switched it from the snowflake, which was my original plan, it would have had to have gone latched onto the snowflake, and then I would have had to have jump ringed it onto our little flowers. But since that one was damaged and we switched pieces, that's not the case. So here's our ear posts. Let's put those up here. Our paves and our crystal snowflakes. So these are going to go like this. So let's get some wire out and start on those. So we're going to use the Snowflakes non-tarnished silver plated in 20 gauge for this one, or these two as the case may be. And we only need about 4 inches of wire probably, so I'm going to cut it right here. This is more than I need. That just popped and sent my beads everywhere, but we'll get them back. So we're going to use my wire straightener and straighten again. So to start with anyway, then I'll probably use my fingers to finish it up, because I like, my fingers seem to get a nice straight on it, and I can feel how straight it is that way. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is make our loop for our snowflake. So we will get our pliers out, make our 90-degree turn, get our bell making pliers out, over and around, down, bring her over and straighten her up, leave a gap here. We got to have our snowflake go in there. So then we're going to feed our snowflake on. So cute. Whoa, snowflake fell off. Obviously my gap was plenty big enough. So we'll have to fetch that off of the floor in a bit. And we'll hold this where the wires come together. And my snowflake is down in where I'm holding. So we want to get that out of there as much as possible, because it's not allowing the wires to drop back together. So let's hold that so I've got some room here. There we go. Now I'll get my second pair of pliers and wrap this 2 or 3 times. Okay, this is the back, so let's trim this baby off and tuck it in. Let's see how crooked we are, if we need to straighten up some. Ooh, ouch. And that is one thing I warn against doing. I somehow managed to cut my wire right here. Still seems to be pretty strong, so I'm not going to worry about it, I don't think. Though maybe I should. I'm going to cut that out of there. I don't think I'll have enough wire to redo this. But I don't like how I notched this, so put that aside. So we'll get about 4 inches of wire out. This needs to have the top trimmed. Put that aside. Now I dropped one of my snowflakes a minute ago. I'm going to have to find that. But in the meantime, we can make this first one. So we'll straighten this out. We'll make our 90-degree turn. Rory's a little bit distressed for some reason, but it might be just simply because he can't find someone. He likes to know where everybody's in the house at, which is sort of strange because he doesn't like us to touch him, but he does want to know where everybody's at. So he's calling me. There we go. Put our snowflake in that loop. Then we'll take our pliers, grab our loop, push it together, and then we're going to take our second pair of pliers and wrap it about 3 times. 1, and now I'm going to trim this, being very careful not to cut anything I don't want cut. So now we'll tuck this wire in and see how crooked I am, because it's inevitable that I will be a little crooked. See how it's bending upwards here? And that looks pretty good though it could straighten just a hair's breadth. There we go. Now we'll just feed our crystals on here. Here's our first snowflake, our pave bead, and our second snowflake. Now the next thing we need to do is to check how our ear wire is in conjunction with these. And it needs to go this direction because of the way this is sitting. So what we want to do is take this, and it's going to be facing the same direction as this one on the bottom. So we'll take it and we'll bend it over. Now we'll get our bell making pliers, slide in there, up and around and over. Bring her back over here, straighten her up some. Leave a gap for our ear wire to go through, and pull our pliers out. Now, this is our front, see, because it has the crystals on the snowflake. So what we need to do is feed our ear wire in backwards so that when it goes around, go around baby, it now is facing the same direction. So now we'll grab this loop where it comes together, and we're going to wrap up the top. Now we got to be careful of our wraps because that crystal on the top is a snowflake shape, so it's going to have a sort of a weird divot in it. So we're going to have to make sure that we don't crunch anything as we come around. Now see, it wants to be done already because I'm starting to crunch stuff and I don't want to. So we're going to pull it back out some so that this is the front. So we're going to want to cut it back here as much as possible. And now we'll try and tuck it in without damaging our snowflake. You have to be pretty darn careful here. Now so you can see it is right there. I can see the tip of my wrap. I'm going to try and get it a little bit closed more. And then this is a little crooked, so we're going to straighten that. Well, I didn't straighten it very well. If anything, I made it worse. So we'll there's earring number 1. The crystal snowflakes can move around and are doing so, I might add. So, number 1. Now I have to find my snowflake so we can start on number 2. Wasn't hard to find, it was right below me. So the next step is to just what we did the last time. So we need to find the end of our wire, get about 4 inches out. It's probably more like 5. I don't measure it normally, but put our clip back on. Boy, it doesn't want to go back on. Very stiff clip. There we go. And cut that piece off. Okay, now that we have this pretty straight, we want to do that 90-degree turn. Get our bell making pliers out. In and around and over and down. Bring her over, leave a gap, straighten her up, pull her out. Put on our snowflake. Grab hold. Go on, you. Right here where they come together. Take your second pair of pliers, grab the end, and wrap. And I believe I did 3 wraps on the other, so we'll do 3 wraps here. Trim it off. And tuck it in. See how straight we are? We're tucked a little forward, so we're going to straighten that up some. And now we'll feed our beads on. Snowflake, pave, snowflake. Now one thing I sometimes do when I have a snowflake or something like this is put a little ball spacer up at the top. And I probably should have done that with this one, but I didn't. So we want the bend to go this direction. So bend it over. Again, with our up and over and around. Bring her down and around and leave a gap and straighten her out. Now I didn't leave much of a gap, so we'll just gap it there. Now we want to feed our ear wire on. And remember, we want to go backwards to our front when we feed these on. So this goes on right here, over and around, and that was pretty simple. Now we want to grab this where the wires come together and take our second pair of pliers and wrap. Now remember, this is going to be a little tricky because of our snowflake leaves there, or pattern, whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't want to go that far, so we will trim it right here. And tuck it in. Okay. And how straight are we? We're looking, we're not straight to the bottom, I don't think. Oh, maybe we are. Yeah. And there's earring number 2. Aren't those pretty? So here's number 1. Well, that's number 2. This one was number 1 with our little reindeer. I love these little gold reindeer. They're so cute. And there's our 2 pair of earrings using our Jessie James Beads Sparkle Season. Aren't those fun? Hope you enjoyed making those with me. Our Jessie James Beads Sparkle Season for these 2 beautiful pair of earrings. This is earring number 1 with the reindeer. Come here, baby. And this is earring number 2 with the snowflake. Oh, you twisted. Let's get untwisted there, baby. There we go. So, aren't those pretty? This one is a little longer than this one, but they're still really precious, I think. I like them a lot, both pair. Stop swinging, reindeer. And I hope you enjoyed making these with me. Again, I was using the Sparkle Season bead mix from Jessie James Beads to make these beautiful earrings. So this has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.